An outbreak of Rudelian plague has struck the Cardassian colony of Pentath 3. Ch'pak is not an expert on luck, and Sisko says 4 pips will make Worf wish he'd gone into botany. Hey, everybody. Have you been feeling stressed at all lately? Let's get all that stress away because it's happy time. It's the 7th rule with Cirroc, Lofton, everybody.
Hello.
We also have a very special guest to ensure that we stay happy and to class up the joint, Malissa Longo.
Hello.
You gave a look like that's a lot of pressure on me. My name's Ryan T. Husk. We are doing a review of Deep Space Nine's Season 4 Rules of Engagement. Speaking of happy, this was kind of a... I don't know, what was this kind of...
It wasn't a happy...
I don't know. I don't want to say it was an unhappy episode, but...
I was waiting to hear your transition on that. Let me see how he's going to pivot on this one.
I have zero transition. Directed, by the way, by Mr. LeVar Burton. Written by Ronald D. Moore. Story by Bradley Thompson and David Weddle. How you guys doing?
All right.
All right.
You're just waiting for me to hang myself on that happy comment.
I was like, how's he going to transition? This is going to be a good one. Can he find anything happy about this episode?
Well, that's why Melissa's the MVP here today, because I had a feeling Cirroc and I would be on the same page about this one. But first of all, let's just say a giant shout out to Walking Art made by Melissa.com. Looks like Melissa's wearing a shirt from her.
Yes, I may have dropped food on it. I did.
That's a, what does it say at the bottom there?
It says the Great River will provide.
Beautiful.
And it provided some pinto beans.
And I also have a Walking Art made by Melissa shirt right here.
Wahoo!
I like that.
Which is the chat pack. Pretty awesome, pretty amazing. So check that out in the comments or in the description box below. We'll have the link for Walking Art made by Melissa.com. You can get all kinds of goodies. You can get a Ferengi. You can get a chat pack. You can get, dream catchers and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
I love that chat pack, man. That's a great shirt.
Isn't that the
Thank
best?
You.
Yeah, it is. It actually reminds me of that artist, a very famous artist that made those portraits.
Right. Melissa Longo.
Yes, it's the other one.
The one that with the portraits and sardies.
Right. He's a New Yorker artist.
Yeah,
I think
and
he's
the New Yorker. Yeah.
I'm gonna find it because I see your perplexed look.
Right.
Ryan.
I was born with this look, but no, you are right that I have zero knowledge of any art or culture or anything outside of sports, Star Trek, or music or kitties.
I think it's called Hirschfeld.
Oh, yeah, you've mentioned him before, actually.
Yes, and he has made Hirschfeld. He made these portrait character drawings of pretty much all of the Star Trek people.
Oh.
And here it is. I'm going to show it to you guys so you can see it. Here's his Leonard Nimoy, for example. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Oh, yeah, we can.
You see the Nimoy, right?
Yeah.
That's the Nimoy.
That's great.
His name is Al Hirschfeld. And he did Deep Space Nine as well. He did, I think, Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. I'm gonna look for it. But that's it's kind of in that style, and I love that style. We talked to another artist before in one of our interviews, Ryan.
Right, Duncan Regehr.
Right, where I brought his name up.
Mm-hmm.
But just because I'm such a fan of the style, so just a shout out to the deceased late great Hirschfeld.
Yeah, I'm actually a fan of his, actually when he used to play sports he used to play for the Vikings, the great running back Hirschfeld Walker, if you'll recall.
Yes.
Really great. Shout out to him.
Yes, and his candy bar Hershey's, we also enjoy that as well.
Yeah. Anyway, and the comedian Jerry Hirschfeld. No, that's terrible. God. So Malissa, as you can tell, Cirroc and I have both seemed to be putting forth a lot of effort into not talking about this episode, but I think
yes, a lot.
I hadn't noticed.
Well, let's talk about it. I'm going to be honest. The first 5 seconds, right when the episode started, my first thought was, oh, this one. And
okay.
I'm definitely not the target audience for a courtroom drama. And that's what this is. And I bet it did really well with those people, the people that like the courtroom dramas or the people that like the suspense. I mean, it's a very well written episode. It was well acted. It was well directed. It's great all around. But I'm not the target audience for this particular type of episode, I think. My guess was Cirroc wasn't either. Was I right?
Well, here are my notes. If you can see, it's not much.
And one of the notes was LeVar Burton. That was like, like
literally.
Let me fill up some space here. 42-minute running time.
Yeah. And I just wrote the title down here too. So the half of it is the title and LeVar Burton's name. So it's literally not many notes. I thought I'd go off just the cuff because I feel like this is more of an emotional type of feeling episode than one to take notes on.
Right. And no B plot.
No B plot. Yeah. I talked about this before. We had an episode where I talked about how deep Star Trek, not just Deep Space Nine, but Star Trek has the ability to incorporate other genres of television into it. So Star Trek can do a Western, for example.
Right.
Right. And it works in Star Trek. They can also do a CSI type of crime scene investigation type of show, which is like a police show. And they can also do, in this case, which is the lawyer, courtroom, legal drama show, right? So they have the ability to encompass all of these things. And I actually think that it would be in their interest one day later on in the future to develop such a show that is exactly focused on these kinds of subcategories for the
Star
people
Trek
who
CSI,
do.
Right.
Right. Star Trek CSI.
Yeah, and it would be interesting to see the different legal aspects from different races, different species, and how they handle their legal system, not just how the Federation handles their legal system.
What a fun idea! You're right.
Right. So they could also do the Star Trek. What is a law show? Law and Order, right?
Right.
Law and Order Star Trek edition, right?
Yeah, Star Trek: The Law and Obsidian Order. Well, we've seen one or two of these. You know, like there was the one where O'Brien was being, tried in the courtroom, the Cardassian court. Right. But you're right, Malissa. I think it's more interesting if it's on an alien homeworld, because then that's the twist. That's the setting, is their laws and their rules and their regulations. Whereas when it was under Federation law, there was no twist. There was no added flavor to it. You know what I mean?
Well, because we kind of know what we're getting, and we're kind of getting an Americanized system of justice, but we're calling it the Federation. So
right.
And it wasn't even like the system of justice itself was not even really part of the story. The story was just, here's what happened, and it's looking bad for Worf. It looks like he did something bad, and then oops, plot twist. It turns out it was all just a trick.
Right.
It wasn't really even about the trial itself. It was a way to tell a story, And I thought that it was really good the way they did like the flashbacks thing, but we could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Looks like Cirroc, you're going to say something.
Yeah, that was one of the few notes that I did take, actually. Was
We're going to be out of things to say in like 2 minutes.
I know, right? But no, I do think that I want to say that the actor who plays the guys, he does a good job. So this is not a knock on his performance.
Chapok,
I
think.
Is that Chapok?
Shakur. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. As soon as you said Chapok, I'm like, I got to beat him to it.
I had to.
Yeah, Chipak, that's his name.
Yeah. So I liked his performance. I thought he was a worthy adversary or a worthy representation of a Klingon legal counsel or whatever. So I thought that was accurate and that he was good at that as far as provoking Sisko to bring out his chess game, right? Let me bring out my chess moves. So I thought he did a good job.
Now that you mention it, though, it does make me think that we did have a Nam or two. One of the Nams, speaking of Chipak, was Shakar. So we had Chipak and Shakar. So I think that works well.
Yeah.
There. Do you guys remember who got the other Nam?
Let's see.
I don't think this person's name was actually mentioned. Just who they are was mentioned.
It was it Curzon or?
Well, it was. Was it Curzon? I don't know.
Curzon was mentioned.
Oh, really?
Curzon was mentioned.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to take a note of that.
He was the Klingon expert. Jadzia said, I dabble, but Curzon was the expert.
You're right. It was. It was Kern also, and Alexander. Those were the two because they actually mentioned, I don't know if they said, I think they said Alexander's name, but they didn't say Kern's name. They just said, in your brother, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, yeah. So his son and his brother, right?
Mm-hmm. Now I'm starting to try. Yeah. Now I'm thinking, did Shakar get mentioned? I thought he did, but maybe that was the last episode. Anyway, so no.
I didn't hear Shakar's name in this one, but it's possible.
I think I was just reaching there. I think that was last week that he was last week, and I'm still focused on that. But yeah, so you liked his performance, huh?
I liked his performance. I thought he was good. I mean, I think that the problem in the story lies with one, the fact that we know that the Federation is going to rule in favor of the Federation. There's like no mystery behind that. And so that leaves it flat. It doesn't give you that edge of suspense, like what's going to happen. Now, had they been in a Klingon court, then we definitely would have seen what you're talking about. I believe that it would have been like Sisko having to, really prove to the Klingons that it's in their best interest to, grant him a reprieve or whatever for whatever it was. So I thought that was one thing. And the other thing is, I thought that this episode was really going to be about him killing his brother or attempting to kill his brother, Kern, right? Like, they didn't even mention that when they were running down his credibility and saying that, you lost your title, you've been stripped, your son is living in disgrace. And even your own brother asked you to kill him, right? Or something to that.
And you tried to do it. You didn't even say no. You're like, all right, right now? All right, sure.
Right. And that would be a credibility.
Yeah, but isn't Kern technically dead in the eyes of the Empire? And because he's living under a different name and a different identity that he doesn't even know about. So why would the Klingon Empire know about it too?
That's true. I think that's accurate. So they did bring up his brother, but they didn't bring that exact thing up. Maybe that's been properly covered up and not revealed to the Klingons like you're discussing. So I think it's a fair argument.
Yeah. Do you think when Worf stabbed him and like the blood that comes out of him is called like Kern's nectar? Or do you think that they just call it blood?
Yeah, God. No comment. No comment.
It's probably just blood. But I think that's how they. Let me change the subject quickly.
Wow.
Please do.
I think that what they did do that was new and interesting and created a twist was making the flashbacks break the fourth wall and talk to us. Like. He's like remembering, he's like, oh yeah, I was handing him a drink and he said something about how he ordered prune juice. And Worf loves his prune juice or whatever it was. It was like a really interesting thing. And I don't remember Star Trek ever doing that, breaking the fourth wall and basically talking to us, in a way.
Yeah, I think that's a new twist on. It was a cool twist. I liked that because they don't usually do that. But
it was one of my things. Absolutely, I have to agree with you, Malissa. And I think that's a director's choice. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Yeah.
I too was trying to figure out if that was on the page or not, because I feel like it has to partially be on the page, because that's a pretty drastic change for a director to make. And I don't know anything about the power that the director has in Star Trek. I don't know if they can, because that's not altering the dialogue, but that is altering the script, where it says, Quark turns to himself. Yeah. So I wonder if it was just a director's choice, or if there was a deliberate change that was made. But somewhere down the line, I do feel like that change was made, and it wasn't like that. That's how the story was pitched initially. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do feel like that was somebody or some people that said, we need to add a new element. We need to create something different or interesting. And I thought it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen movies where they do that kind of a thing, where they tell the story and they bring you back into the moment of the story, and they kind of walk you through it in that kind of thought process, thinking out loud, whatever your thought process is. And I thought that was well done in this episode. First time I'd seen it before. I actually kind of wish more of the episode was like that, because that to me that was the better part. That was the best part. Like,
you're right,
O'Brien talking, and I wish they just kept replaying the story through different people's eyes, and there you play this like telephone game of perception, like, oh well, I saw it like this and I saw it like this, and I thought they could have played with that aspect of it more, and I would have appreciated it, because that was the one saving grace, I think, for this episode, was the fact that O'Brien was sitting in the captain's chair, acting as if he was making the decision. I like that aspect,
Yeah, and I loved Quark's. I forgot the names of the Dabo girls. No.
Yeah, he named like 4 different ones.
Yeah. Different girl pops up.
And then it was Morn. And then Morn was about to say, and then he jumps in.
Yeah.
Interrupts
it. Good touch.
Well, Malissa, what did you think overall of the episode? Was it entertaining? Was it interesting? Was it boring? Was it exciting?
I have to admit, this is not one of my favorites. I do like courtroom dramas, but I feel like this was an unprovable case that they were making something up that you can't really prove, because any of the attributes the arbiter, the lawyer guy.
Oh yeah.
Any of those attributes that he was claiming were Klingon, and claiming that Worf was making these decisions because he was a Klingon, these attributes aren't solely Klingon, because many human beings have reacted in this way too. So it's not really a provable case, and he doesn't have. There's too much room for reasonable doubt, for lack of a better word. So that's where I see a flaw. And and like, example, when Worf punches him out on the stand, human beings have done that to each other on the stand, so it's not solely a Klingon, reaction.
Right.
Jadzia, he brings up the holosuite program to Jadzia and saying, well, what decision did he make at the end of the thing? But I wanted Sisko to ask, well, if you were in the role of the the gladiator conqueror or whatever, what decision would you have done? It's part of the game, so he I don't know, there's just too many holes of, well, Jadzia is just as capable of making that choice because of the game that they're playing at the time as Worf is, so it just flies out the window in my book.
I thought for sure you were reaching for some chips that whole time. When you reached out like this and you're reaching for something over there, I don't know why, but I thought for sure that you were reaching for like some kind of payoff that we could watch you grab a chip and be like, that's all I have to say about that.
Oh,
but nothing came.
I was just using my hands. And I was playing with the bracelet.
Cool. Well, look, I got some bad news, guys. We're coming up to our break. So Cirroc's like, it's not bad news. No, we're just kidding. We're having fun. But yeah, we'll take a quick break. We will come back and we're going to really get in depth on this episode. We're going to dive deep into every last little meaty chunk of this thing. And we'll also talk about the trivioids. The least trivioids maybe ever, by the way.
Your first trivioid had me thinking, like, did I watch this episode? Because I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will take a quick break and we'll be right back on the 7th rule.